An error occurred. Wait a moment and try again. We are live. Greetings, everybody. Let's take it now.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting. Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit, on the tanker, through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the...
Well, there I was, flying the fastest and highest flying airplane in the world and slipping through the hangar out of control towards the blast fence.
Oh, no.
No.
Greetings, everyone. Repeat here. That is not a good way to start in a multi-million, probably, I don't even know how much one of those SR-71s, but that could not have been a cheap or easily explained mishap. Terrifying way to start your day.
Yeah,
Repeat here, home in New Hampshire. Where's my co-host?
Well, I'm in an undisclosed location in Florida. However, I have a extremely slow internet experience going, and you sound like a robot.
Well, that's okay. You kind of do too. Just keep it going because it's going to record and upload for us. I'm proud to introduce our guest for today, BC, who is, if I remember my notes correctly, the highest time SR-71 pilot.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's impressive.
So you spent a few minutes in that, but you didn't start off your aviation career flying SR-71s. When did you first look to the skies and go, I could do that?
1944.
Right.
Really sounds funny. I was 3 years old in 1944.
Right.
And my dad, when he went off to war, he was in the Navy. He gave me a very hard rubber airplane to play with, and I played with that. We lived in San Francisco at the time, and the air was full of airplanes all the time, during the war.
Sure.
And so I would look at the airplanes, and I can't imagine this three-dimensional freedom, up, down, left, right, fast, slow, and it just gave me a bug. And so from that moment on, I wanted to be a pilot. And then later, when I was about 6 years old, through my mother, she would read me stories. I'd ask her about Muroc Air Force Base, which is now Edwards, of course, and flying experimental aircraft and breaking the sonic boom barrier. And I remember that very well, and that made me want to be a military test pilot. So that was my goal in life, is to be a military test pilot.
BC, where did you grow up?
Denison, Texas. It's it's about 60 miles north of Dallas. It's 7 miles south of the Oklahoma border. It's where President Eisenhower was born, and also Sully Sullenberger. Sully is 9 years younger than I am, but he and I did the same thing in high school. I mean, we were both in the band. We went to the same church and all that. I knew his mother because his mother was a teacher in the elementary school that I went to. I didn't have her as a teacher, but I certainly knew who she was. So it was a great town. It's about 25,000 people. Everybody knew each other. It was wonderful. At the time, of course, I didn't know how good it was, but looking back now at all of the turmoil and everything in the cities, it couldn't have been a better growing up atmosphere.
Right. Okay. Very cool. And then, so you decided you wanted to be a military test pilot. What path did you take to put yourself in that direction?
Well, the first path is I wanted to go to a college that had ROTC, Air Force ROTC. And I wanted to go to the University of Texas because that's where a lot of my friends were going. But my parents said, no, you're not doing that. You're going to go to Southern Methodist University, which is about 60 miles from our town. And SMU is a great school, but it's also very, very strict. If you were caught drinking, you'd be kicked out of the school. I mean, that's how strict it was.
Right.
It was also, though, a party school, and I joined a fraternity, and I had a great time in college. I really did. So joining ROTC was what I wanted to do, especially specifically to be a pilot. Between my junior and senior year is when ROTC cadets go to boot camp. That's called Summer Training Unit, STU. And during that time, we all took a physical, and I was eliminated from pilot training consideration because my eyes were 20/25.
Oh, I feel your pain more than you know.
It was, I was really, really heart crushed. I went to when I got back, I went to my professor of air science, who was a Lieutenant Colonel Darian, a wonderful man. And I came to him almost crying, saying, I flunked my eye test. What can I do? Can I get a waiver? And he says, well, they're not handing out waivers nowadays. This was in 1960, or 64. Maybe 63 when I was talking to him. And he said, Carswell Air Force Base was about 20 miles away. And he said, I suggest that you go to graduate school if you can't pass your test. And of course, I went to a civilian optometrist to take tests, and they confirmed it was 20/25. And he says, do exercise, talk to ophthalmologists, do whatever you can to try to make your eyes well. And if you go to graduate school, and then you can apply to go on active duty by going to Carswell Air Force Base and taking an eye test. Now, this was in the days of not very sound recording of events. So I was able to take the eye test 5 times, flunking it each time. The 6th time I took it, I passed. And what caused me to be able to pass was that the optometrist in Denison, Dr. Levinson, I'll never forget his name, outfitted me with hard contact lenses, which actually reshaped the cornea in my eye. And I passed it. And in fact, I was about 2015 with that. And the thing is that was only temporary. It lasted about 3 days, and I'd go back to 20/25. So I got adept at putting my contact lenses in and then taking them out. And it took about 12 hours for them to settle down. It was an amazing process. But it took me 2 years to do that. And in that time, I got a master's degree in mathematical statistics, which, as it turns out, was really the key to allow me to go to test pilot school. Because at the time, everybody in my test pilot school class had a master's degree in math or science or engineering, except one. And he happened to be the smartest guy. So I wasn't the smartest guy. So having a master's degree really, really helped in that. But if I had my way, I would have gone into pilot training as a guy in high school, just like Chuck Yeager.
Right. I mean, where were those good old days, right? No kidding.
Right.
Fantastic. Okay. So what year then did you actually go active duty? Was it 64, 65?
No, I was commissioned in 64.
Okay.
And to go to graduate school, I had to apply to the AFID program, Air Force Institute of Technology. Okay. And so I was in the reserves for 2 years. Well, I got my master's. I got my master's in August of 1966 and went on active duty in August of 1966.
Okay.
It was all arranged. So the moment I got my diploma, I shipped it off to Reese Air Force Base in Lubbock, Texas. And that was a year-long pilot training class, and it was the best year of my life. I could not believe how wonderful it was. It fulfilled all of my dreams of being a pilot. You take someone who I had never soloed because I didn't have enough money when I was in college to rent an airplane, and I was the only cadet in the only officer in the class who had not soloed. So I felt like I was.
Had you flown
though,
the BC? Did you fly?
I had flown,
Okay.
but it was just getting rides with people. I could I paid for rides too, but I just didn't have the money to go through a whole course. Anyway, that
I can imagine that. You're going to feel a little bit behind, especially when everyone else has
Yes.
that X in the block. So, okay. Nice. So, what was that path like? What's the flight school path like?
Well, it was everything was new, and it was exactly what I wanted to do, and I just really I did not go to the Air Force Academy, of course, and so I was not really in the notion that the mission comes first. I didn't have that attitude. My attitude was I want to have as much fun as I can while flying. I didn't want to kill myself, of course, but I was not at the top of my class. I was about in the middle of the class, and it just was my whole attitude was I wanted to learn to fly airplanes. And I think it's remarkable, really, when the Air Force can take someone who has nothing there as far as aviation, and then in 1 year you're flying formation in a fighter type aircraft, and it's a wonderful. I don't know how anybody could do it any better than the Air Force or the Navy.
Right. Yeah, I remember those early days in formation and that sort of thing. It's kind of like, this is really cool.
Yeah. So I got my wings in December of 1967.
Okay.
Now, I wasn't very high in the class. I was about in the middle. So my first assignment was co-pilot in a KC-135. And I've heard, I put on my list, you have a chance to put down what you want to go to. And I put down, I wanted to be an instructor pilot in the T-38, or I wanted to fly an F-105. And my third choice was a KC-135. So that's what I got, was a co-pilot in a KC-135, which turned out to be a pretty good deal for me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you a short story about that if you
Sure.
like.
Yeah, let it rip.
I was assigned to Kinchlow Air Force Base, which is in upper Michigan. Very cold in the winter. We had 140 inches of snow the first winter. Well, part of that, Vietnam was going, and so we flew over to Vietnam in the tanker, and I think it was called Young Tiger. It was so we were refueling fighters and bombers over northern Thailand on the way it was set up is that we flew about once a day, and then if you volunteer, you fly twice. And my aircraft commander, Don Cochran was his name, great guy, volunteered us to fly 3 times a day. So we did that for about a week or so, and then harking back to my attitude in pilot training, I asked him. He was a captain. I was a first lieutenant at the time. I said, do you think we could not volunteer to fly 3 times and maybe go to the bar and have fun? Something like that. And he looked at me, and it was the best dressing down I've ever had. He said, "Look, you're a military officer. You're here. This is a wartime, and you are going to do what you can to help the war effort. And that means that we will volunteer for flying as long as we can." And he was quite angry with me, and so I backed down real quick. And after that, he had me hand fly the tanker. He says, and while we're at it, your cross check isn't good enough." Oh, gosh, I didn't know that. So he said, you're going to be hand flying the tanker. So I hand flew the tanker most of the time after that. And if you know about refueling with the tanker, that's not an easy task. Well, he was right, and my cross check improved. And he also told me, he says, if you're not reading something in your flight manual every day, you're doing something wrong, and the flying regulations. And I hadn't been. And so I took his advice to heart. And after that, I would read, a page or two in the flight manual every day. And it wouldn't take that long, 30 minutes maybe. And he said also, strive to be the go-to guy if you can. And if someone has a question about regulations or flying, that it's good if you have the reputation to be the go-to guy. And well, yeah. So about a year later, and this is something that in the abstract doesn't really sound like much, but at the time it was a real ego boost. Is that the wing commander who I flew with before asked me to be his co-pilot for his check ride and for his simulator training. This is a wing commander. And so I took that and I said, good heavens, that's quite a endorsement. And I really took that to heart. And so after that, that's what I dedicated my life to do, is to be as good a pilot as I could and to contribute as much as I could. And it was a really life-changing event. Don Cochran, I just love that guy.
Nice. And that was so how long was that first tour in Vietnam?
Well, it wasn't a tour, it was TDY, and we'd go over for 6 weeks. We did that twice. Go over for 6 weeks and come back, and it was called Operation Young Tiger.
Okay.
All the tankers did that.
And where did you base out of then?
Kinchlow Air Force Base. Oh, I'm sorry. There is Utapao.
Oh, okay. That's Thailand?
Yes.
Okay.
That's where the B-52s flew out of also.
Okay. And so when you were flying out of there, would you also refuel, or what kind of mission time?
Oh yeah, I got to say we would take off overweight. Actually, that it was more fuel than we would carry normally, and we would go out to they called them the anchors. They had orange anchor and cherry anchor and so forth. Okay. They were all fruit, and we would just set up an orbit, and then refuel any American, any friendly aircraft that came up.
No mixed, no refueling the mix.
No, we didn't do that. There was a couple of times that we had to go south because the MiGs were in the area.
Okay. And
we weren't equipped to fight back.
No.
But they had F4s on alert all the time up there for the guys. After I was in the tanker, I flew C-130s for a year in Vietnam. And there was a standing thing. There was some F4s that were on standby on alert. And if we got, it would happen twice that we were chased by MiGs when I was flying the C-130. And our procedure is to go down as low as you can and as fast as you can and try to get away. But they would give us plenty of warning. And usually the F-4s would be up there and chase them away.
Sure. So how did you transition from the 135 to the C-130, or not how, but when, or all that? Tell us
that was
about that, if you would, please, sir.
1970.
Okay.
And
Little Rock Air Force Base, I presume.
that's right, Little Rock.
I spent a little time down there at one point.
Tell them why, Pig.
I used to make fun of C-130 guys, BC, when I was a Harrier pilot, and then later on in life, I became a Harrier pilot.
Okay.
Isn't that something? And I really did enjoy flying that airplane.
Well, it was good for its mission. That's for sure.
Which model did you fly?
E model.
Okay. And was that a tanker too, or was it just a case,
No.
or just a C-130, not a KC-130?
That's correct. It's a C-130.
Okay. Any troop inserts or anything like that, or mostly just cargo down to the PI? And
Well, I flew primarily the flying command post.
okay.
It's the Alley Cat, Moonbeam, Hillsborough, and Cricket. Those were the four names for the command post. And we would fly, there were about 12-hour missions. We would fly and be within UHF radio range of any of the air activity. And there was either a brigadier general or a colonel in the back that coordinated all that. They had a capsule that had all sorts of stuff. It was secret, and my philosophy about secret things is that I don't want to know anything that I don't need to know, because that way I can't tell anybody a secret. So we could go back there and on a break or something and be in there, but it was all very highly classified stuff that they were doing. They had charts there and people talking on the radios all the time. It was an interesting mission, and I flew Alley Cat primarily, and that was a night thing. So we fly all night. It's about a 12-hour, about 6 to 6 in the morning.
Oh, that sounds like a long night.
Alley Cat, yeah.
Yeah. So just the three of you, or was there any relief pilots on board, or?
Not always. There were some. Sometimes there would be a relief pilot. I started out as a co-pilot, and about 2 months after there, I upgraded to aircraft commander. So I was happy about that too.
Right. Was that your first aircraft commander? You didn't do that in the 135, right?
That's correct. I did not.
Okay. Nice. And how long did you fly the C-130?
For a year.
Okay.
Well, a year plus training. And this is the problem I had was that when I was in Vietnam in the C-130, I only had the KC-135 and the C-130 as my experience. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't really want to go to C-130s or KC-135s after I got in Vietnam, and most people did. Most it's you just call plowbacks, you know. Mm-hmm. So I went to the personnel office and got the book on special assignments, and it was a pretty thick book, and it told all of the assignments for which you had to apply. And so I applied to, I don't know, about 10 special assignments, to include F-104, F-106, and B-57. And I got the B-57, and that marked my chance to break out of the C-130, KC-135, and fly something else. And the B-57 was outfit. It was the 58th Air 58th Air Reconnaissance
Okay.
Squadron at Kirtland.
Okay.
And their primary mission was to sample air for nuclear fallout. And I can show you the airplane that we flew. Now, I flew the short wing 57 for almost a year, and then transitioned into the RB-57F,
Okay.
which is well, that's the short wing that you're looking at here. If you
Okay.
come back
I
to
put that up on the screen. Okay.
me, I'll show you. Here's the. Can you see my airplane?
Yeah, I pulled it down.
Yeah.
Make your picture.
This
big.
is the RB-57F. They only made 18 of them, and it had the two TF-33 engines here, the same engines that are on the 141. And then they had under the wing here, they had two J-60 engines. And so it was a 4-engine reconnaissance airplane, 2,000 square feet of wing, and it flew up to 70,000 feet. And it could carry 10,000 pounds of equipment up to 70,000 feet.
Wow.
So we
the
we
aspect
sampled
ratio
the air.
on that thing is just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a glider, all right, without. And so, anyway, I was in that for about 3 years, and it was great. I really enjoyed that mission. It was a single pilot with a navigator in the back.
Okay. And he ran camera systems and that sort of thing as well. Or?
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
camera systems and air sampling. A couple of times we were looking for what they call hot samples, and that's if they detected nuclear fallout. I don't know how they did that. They would send us up there to do that, and it was kind of an interesting procedure. In the cockpit, of course, it's pressurized, and we were wearing a pressure suit. So when we were nearing this cloud, in the cloud is not something that's visible, but something that's detectable. We depressurize the airplane and let the air go out as we go into the cloud. And then they open up the sample ports. And then when we're out of that area, then we repressurize the airplane. We also had a dosimeter to measure radiation, make sure that we stayed below the normal limit, which we always did.
Well, that's
That,
good.
that was an interesting mission. They only made 18 of those airplanes, so it was a special assignment, and I was lucky enough to get that.
Awesome.
Hopefully based on my flying record.
Oh, there you
So
go.
after that, the squadron was. Now, NASA still flies these airplanes. When it was the Air Force, it was called the RB-57F. Now
Okay.
it's called the WB-57F. And they changed the name in 1973 after I'd left because they were going to close the squadron. And because of the nuclear test ban treaty, they didn't have so much fallout anymore.
Okay.
So they wanted to call it the WB-57, put it under the Air Weather Service, and keep it in the Air Force. Well, that didn't work out. So NASA now flies 4 of them. They only made 18 of those airplanes, but NASA now has 4.
Okay.
I remember seeing one down there at just outside Houston at that. Well, it used to be a military only. Now it's a joint use field.
Was it Ellington? Was
Ellington
Ellington,
Field.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We
Okay.
flew some of those missions when I was in the RB-57F. NASA had a reason that they wanted to take pictures of corn blight and something else. It was part of an environmental issue, and so and actually it was part of our mission was to fly with NASA for that, and that's why NASA wanted them. And I guess they made good use of them ever since. But it's an airplane that a lot of people have never heard of before.
If I've seen one, I didn't know it. And I've got to say, I'm trying to think. I was looking at it when I called up the pictures, but I didn't see when they started making them. Probably finished pretty close to that point.
A fun fact is one time in near Albuquerque, I was flying this airplane, and it was at night, and we had a rotating beacon, and I'm up at 70,000 feet or 65,000 feet, and somebody identified it as a UFO. So I was a UFO.
UFO, huh? Nice. Fantastic. I was just here. I found the quick on it. First flight was June of '63 by the Martin, and then by the Glenn L. Martin Company, and then I guess it went on to become they got picked up by General Dynamics at some point.
Well, General Dynamics is the one who modified the short wing into the long wing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the.
Nice.
From there, I as soon as I was in the squadron long enough to be able to be transferred, I applied to the test pilot school to go there. And based on the fact that I was, a fairly young captain and had experience in KC-135, C-130, in the short wing and the long wing B-57, with a master's degree, which really helped, and they let me take a 5-flight evaluation, and that was interesting too. The 5-flight evaluation.
Yeah, what was that like? That sounds kind of interesting. The little.
I guess I don't know if it was just for people who had never flown a high-speed fighter, like I had flown the T-38, but that's it. To make sure that we could negotiate that, because part of the test pilot school and our primary airplane was the F-104. So they wanted to make sure that you at least had some knowledge about high-speed flight. But it was interesting. The first flight that I made was, of course, with an instructor pilot. And we got into the T-38. Now, since I knew I was going to do this, I got a hold of the T-38 flight manual and read it cover to cover before I went out there. So I wanted to make sure I'd flown it in pilot training, but it was good to have a refresher on that. So we got in the airplane, and I was doing like we did in the B-57 and writing a checklist. I read the checklist and on interphone and told him what I was doing, and the instructor pilot was he would not by me. He was called Rotten Ralph Cunningham. His name was Ralph Cunningham. Great guy. And he said, "Look, this is Air Force. This is Edwards Air Force Base. We're test pilots. I think you know how to read a checklist. Let me know when you're through." And so, okay, this is a little bit different. They want to put as much responsibility on the shoulders of the test pilot as they can, and to make sure that you know enough to do that. Well, I was very careful about that checklist, and of course I didn't want to do it real slow, but I wanted to make sure everything was done. Anyway, that was very interesting. We also flew formation. I hadn't flown formation in a long time. I could tell you another kind of funny thing if you want.
Sure.
Okay. When I came out for this 5-flight eval, I didn't know anybody at Edwards. And the first night I went to the officers club. I was in a flight suit and I was going to have dinner. And so I was sitting by myself, and I looked over, and at another table was another guy sitting by himself in a flight suit. And I thought, well, maybe he's out here for the 5-flight eval also. So I went over and introduced myself and sat down, and we had dinner together, and find out that it was Pete Hartwick, who was later became my classmate. And yes, he was there to do the 5-flight eval also. And so he asked me what I was doing, and I told him about the 57. And I said, "Well, Pete, what are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm a T-38 instructor pilot. And I've got my airplane parked here at Flight Ops." So he was there to get a 5-flight eval on the T-38. And so
And he
was
brought his
I.
own.
I thought, yeah, he brought his own. I thought, well, now if I'm being judged against him, it's kind of bad news. But I asked him. I said when we were eating, I said, "Can you help me refresh myself on how to do a closed pattern, for instance?" And, oh yeah, sure. I mean, go up there and you put your heels on the horizon when you do the turn up and 2G pull up and roll out, and then put the mag compass on the horizon, and then you bring the throttles back this much, and just the stuff that if you do by rote, you're going to be pretty close to it.
Right.
Turn to final when the runway is over your rank, and turn to final, and go to a small burble, but not too much. And it was good, and everything he said was accurate, and it really helped me, I think, on my eval. Anyway, he was the guy who was the only one that didn't have a master's degree in our class, and he was the smartest.
Oh, there you go. But that was nice of him to gouge you up, right? Live by the gouge.
Oh yeah, it was.
And fantastic. All right. So
He also taught me how to fly inverted. He liked doing that. He says, "This is a skill that you really should know." And okay, so
fair enough. Yeah, and one you didn't do very often in the 135, at least not intentionally, right?
No. But about every training flight I would have in the T-38, I would fly inverted for a while, turn to headings and things like that. Do a trim shot inverted.
Fantastic. And then, so obviously you got into test pilot school. Where was that?
At Edwards.
At Edwards. Okay.
That was in 1973.
Okay.
And it's a year-long class, and we flew a whole bunch of airplanes.
Yeah. What all did you fly in that?
Well, I don't even remember if I could. We brought some prop
okay,
planes.
list the four you didn't fly, and then we'll have everything else.
Our primary was the F-104, which I've
Okay.
got a little model here of it, and it's just
Okay.
that's my number 2 airplane that I really like. That was a fantastic airplane, and we went to we did a Zoom test. There was about 3 of us that were chosen to do the Zoom test, and I was one of them. And it was taking a C model, I think, F-104, and it was our chance to emulate a test flight at Edwards while we're still in the school. We had to coordinate the sport radar, the radar that would identify your course and your altitude and your speed and all that, and write the test plan and everything. And the idea was to go up to 68,000 feet in a 104. So we had to wear a pressure suit for that too. And it was, I got to do that twice, and it was, it would always end with the engine out landing in idle. We wouldn't shut down the engine.
Okay.
To the base, just like if you were flying the X-15.
Okay.
And the high key was 25,000 feet. And that was a good time.
Yeah. So high key, for those non-aviators, is essentially part of your emergency landing pattern, your engine out landing pattern. You got a high key and a low key, and it sets you up those are, I guess, windows in the sky that you're trying to hit at given altitudes, so that when you are setting up to get to a given runway, you know that you're going to hit, you're going to make it.
Well, to simulate the X-15 landing in an F-104, which doesn't have a lot of lift anyway, we put out the speed brake, and at 25,000 feet, you put the nose down about 20 degrees. And hold about 350 or so coming around the turn. And then at 1,500 feet, it's called the pre-flare. You flare it and get the speed down almost to about 200 knots or so.
Okay.
And then when you find yourself over the runway, you just hold it off. And it worked very well.
Gotcha. Okay. So that airplane looks like it's going pretty fast when it's just sitting there too.
It does, right?
It's a Kelly Johnson airplane also, like the SR-71, and that one was point
Right.
designed for Mach 2, and the SR-71 is point designed for Mach 3.2.
Okay. Dang. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am super eager to hear about the SR-71 and some more test pilot stuff. But I'd also like to take just a couple minutes to thank our sponsor, DC Artworks, who helped bring this show to you. So there I was, thinking I was done decorating my space. Turns out I was just under-equipped, because once you see what DCArtworks.net can do, blank walls start to feel like a personal failure. Our newest sponsor is American-made, veteran-owned, and run by Derek, who builds metal art the way aircraft parts should be built. Start with precision, finish with craftsmanship, and don't cut corners you can't see. Every piece begins as a CNC cut hardened steel, and that means laser-precise shapes, clean lines, and zero guesswork. Then Derek or his team hand-finish every piece, which is why no two are ever identical. This is not mass production. This is controlled excellence. And if you're wondering how custom they really are, here's the number, 95%. 95% of what DC Artworks produces is built specifically for someone who said, here's my idea. The design library on DCArtworks.net updates constantly, but think of it as an inspiration, not a limitation. Squadron logos, call signs, aviation themes, business branding, one-off gifts, or statement pieces big enough to dominate a room. Derek can scale it from personal to commercial without blinking. I've got a set of naval aviator wings almost 2 feet wide, and they are flat out gorgeous. People don't just notice them, they react. That's the difference between decoration and presence. DC Artworks also does powder coating and multi-material engraving, so you get depth, contrast, and finishes that actually look better in person. He's a military GPC vendor, offers bulk and repeat discounts, and is consistently one of the best priced options for this level of work. And because you're a So There I Was listener, there's a permanent perk for you. Go to DCArtworks.net, use code STIW, and get 20% off every order forever, even if another discount is already applied. So here's the play. Go to DCArtworks.net now, scroll, imagine, and then contact Derek and commission something that is actually worthy of your wall space. Because once you picture it hanging there on your wall, you're already committed. And thanks to DCArtworks.net for sponsoring this episode. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Derek, for sponsoring this show. Noticed a comment come through, BC. A gent by the name of Lou says that you're such a gentleman. He got to spend his birthday with you and Punchy, Brian Schul, in 2022. And he says, great guy. So wonderful. Thank you, Lou. So you finished.
Was that Lou Williams?
Lou Dingle.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So thank you, Lou. So test pilot school, how long were you doing the test pilot thing before you transitioned into the I just went blank on the name of the SR-71. It's a Pit Viper, but I can't remember the name of the.
Well, Habu or Blackbird.
Habu, that's it, Blackbird, but Habu, that's what I was trying to think of. A Pit Viper. So, all right. How long were you doing the test pilot thing?
I was in the test pilot school at Edwards for a year, and then I was high enough in the class to be able to stay at Edwards, which was a plum assignment. And I flew the U-2 in systems tests, and the KC-135. That was kind of as a side job, and I flew the T-38 also. Pete Hartwick and I were the test pilots for the T-38, and we only did one big test when well, it's a long story. I don't think you're interested in hearing it, maybe, but it was a well, they changed the flight control system of the T-38 at one time, and they thought it was just a small thing, but they put a spring into the flap slab interconnect, and what happened was that that spring on one flight, and of course the T-38 is used for undergraduate pilot training, so you have novice pilots flying it.
Sure.
The spring broke.
What could go wrong? Let's just change how the controls work.
Yeah, well, they didn't know that they didn't think they were changing the controls. We didn't know anything about it. We got all of the bulletins and everything about the airplane, and we saw this bulletin come in. And they had one incident where with flaps down in the traffic pattern, the spring broke and gave a pitch up, uncontrolled pitch up, and the airplane stalled immediately. Well, the good part of it is that with full forward force on the control stick, you can break the stall, and that's what the pilot did, which saved his life. And then when he raised the flaps, it was a normal airplane, so we had to come around and make a no flap landing. And another part of that is that if the spring malfunctioned at say Mach 0.9, the aircraft would become very sensitive, and you could over control it and over G it. And so when this incident happened, Pete and I got together, analyzed it, and said, we got to put out a safety bulletin on this. We got a safety thing immediately. So the next day, everybody knew about this problem, and it got a test plan and everything to test this thing to see what the parameters were and what you had to do. I don't know what the status of that is now. Of course, they're phasing the T-38 out, but it was you knew what to do. It was survivable.
Sure,
but it panicked when this thing happened. It would easily crash the airplane.
That's not good.
So
It's never a positive thing.
It was one big test that we did in the T-38. The other, flying the U-2 was taking pictures primarily and getting working out on the film. And we had a trailing wire antenna, and we had a laser test. And so things like that. It was just tests on the airplane, but I got to fly the U-2, and they put me in that because of my experience in the RB-57F.
Okay, so did you do that were you flying the U-2 as a test pilot, or were you flying it? Did you go to a U-2 squadron?
No, just test mode.
Okay,
I didn't fly operational missions in the U-2.
Okay.
And so then I was there for 3 years as a working test pilot, and that was a 4-year commitment. I was able to be transferred, and I put in a request, put in the special assignment to be an SR-71 pilot. And
okay. How long had the SR-71 program been in production and operation, I guess is a better word?
Well, the first Blackbird was the A-12, and that came in about 1962.
Wow.
And the first flight in the SR-71 was 64. It went operational in 66. So I'm coming in there in 76, so 10 years later.
Okay. So so you put in for the special assignment then to the U-2.
Yes, and then to fly the SR-71.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of a U-2 as I said.
The week-long interview was interesting for the SR-71.
Week long?
Wow.
Week long. Yes.
Wow. All right. What
the physical itself was 2 days. It was an astronaut physical. The same stuff that they look at everything. I can tell you one funny story about that. Was part of it they were going to do a brain wave function test.
Okay.
I don't know what they were doing, but part of this, they put me in a chair and they says, well, we're going to put some electrodes in your scalp. And I was thinking they were going to put suction cups. No, electrodes were pins. So they put about 20 pins in my scalp, and each one of them hurt, of course. So I said, well, okay, I have to put up with this. So they did the test, the brain test, and I passed that, I guess. And then the next test was a treadmill. So they put me on a treadmill, and they had a whole program that was that, and then they raised it up and down, and then the last thing was to go as fast as I can, as long as I could. So I'm doing that, and I'm sweating, and as I was sweating, blood started coming down my face.
Oh my gosh!
Because I forgot to say you, they had to do this twice because the first time it didn't work. And they said,
of course,
so they pinned, about 20 pins in my head twice. So I was, oh gosh, that was terrible. And I thought, yeah, it's one of these things. Pilots hate flight examinations.
Oh yeah.
and I had a double reason to hate this one. So so then the blood started coming down my face as I was in the latter part of the treadmill. So they stopped it, and what the hell's going on?
Flight
quacks. It was funny.
Mm.
And they also, that part of it was that then we had a simulator evaluation where they had actually put us in the simulator for the SR-71.
Okay.
And they told us, pretty much what the checklist was like. And then we got in the simulator and was expected to fly it. And then we go up and they would simulate Mach 3, turn off the stability augmentation to show you what Mach 3 flight is really like without the augmentation. Spoiler alert, it's damn dangerous. I mean,
so
one degree.
Go ahead. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat here to hear what this is.
One degree of flight path change will give you 3,000 foot per minute rate of climb or descent. And without the stability augmentation, the stick has no force on it. So it's easy to move. So all you have to do is take the stick and go like this, and you're going to over-G the airplane.
So he, for those listening, he moved his fist forward and aft, maybe 2 inches.
Maybe a 4-inch travel. But anyway, that
start ripping the wings
off. You can't
off.
Fly it. You can't fly the airplane. The best you can do is hold on and freeze the stick, and then slow down. And when you get down to around Mach 2, then it's a decent airplane to fly without stability augmentation, but not at Mach 3.
Mach 2 handles a little better.
Yeah, slow down to Mach 2.
The answer to a lot of emergencies in the SR-71 is to slow down and descend. Because there's a lot of problems that come from flying an airplane whose average skin temperature is 600 degrees Fahrenheit.
And I imagine that bird looks like it probably doesn't like to go down and slow down at the same time either. So.
It takes about 10 minutes. Oh, no, more than that.
Okay.
Probably 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now, if you absolutely put the throttles to idle and put out the forward bypass doors, which act as a speed brakes, you might could get down in 10 minutes or so, but you're 15 miles above the earth when flying the SR generally. And so it takes a while to come down there.
15 miles up. Oh my God. That is just astounding. So, obviously you made it into the program. And you've got a picture of a black bird behind you. Most pictures taken from a T-38 or something, or did you ever fly formation together in those things?
Oh yeah, gosh, yes.
Really? Okay. All right.
I can show you some pictures. I don't have them
Yeah.
handy.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. I'll get them from you and put them on our blog post. So that
Is there any
everyone
way
can go
to project? I have a, I forgot what they call it, but it was a presentation. Is there any way to project that on this?
Oh, no, unfortunately not. But
Okay.
if you can send me some of those, then I'll put them in. So there I was.us/episode/199.
Okay.
That's going to be your episode number. So I'll make sure that they make it to the website. But
The last part of this evaluation was to meet everybody. So there were only 10 crews that fly the SR-71 at any one time.
Okay.
6 were always TDY, three crews in Kadena, Okinawa,
Right.
and 3 crews at Mildenhall. And so you only have about 4 crews there. But you meet them, and you meet the squadron commander and of course the wing commander and the DO and everything. And the last thing on Friday night was to go to the bar
All right.
and see how you fit in socially, because we all were very close knit, and we all worked very close together. The SR-71 squadron was the only squadron in the Air Force that only the crew members flew it. The DO didn't, the operations officer didn't, the squadron commander didn't. None of them flew the airplane.
I'll be darned.
It's just us, all the 10 of us. And so we had to make sure that everybody was up to snuff, just us.
Sure.
And we had a system. Of course, the senior pilot was the chief of Stanival, and then so forth on the way down. We had the primary training officer. It was the training officer was like it was about a 9-month assignment, because you would be training the next crew, and we only trained about 3 a year at the most.
Okay.
And no one really wanted. I mean, I did it a couple of times, but it was you're not flying operations so much, and it's more of a simulator instructor job. So that was a job that was rotated around.
Okay.
So
BC, how long is it? Go ahead, Fig.
I was just going to ask what the average squadron tour looked like. I mean, was it 3 years? Was it 4 years? What did that look like?
Well, it took 9 months to check out in the airplane. About 9 months.
Okay.
That answered my question.
Because there were so many simulators that were required, and the airplane was probably the most complicated airplane ever, and it had no help. There was no CRTs or computers. Every system that needed either monitoring or you need to do something had to have a switch and a gauge and all that. So if you see I'll send you the picture of the instrument panel. It's pretty pretty intricate. We had to pass a blindfold cockpit check for all that stuff, and that just took a long time to learn all of it. And the procedures for flying operational missions and the what ifs. There were just so many of them that affected the SR-71. And then you have a dyed-in-the-wool fighter pilot would have to change his perspective to fly the SR-71, because the SR-71 is flown precisely. You can't deviate from your course, and everything is recorded. It's just a very supervised deal. Also, you have someone else looking at you, because I don't know who they were, but sometimes we would get messages, about MiG activity in the area that we were going to go to.
Okay.
How they knew all that, I don't know.
Now you said messages, like real-time messages while you were in the cockpit?
Right.
So you must have had some kind of secured data.
Oh yes, we had 2 UHF radios that were secure, and then of course we had HF.
Okay.
And a lot of that was in code. We had a code book,
Sure. Okay. And how many birds total were there?
Uh, let's see. I've got all the specs on that. The counting the A12 and the SR-71A and B and the C and the A12 and the YF-12. That was the fighter version. There were 48 aircraft made, and there were 18 lost, and that's 37.5% of the fleet was lost. I looked up what the percentage of the others. The F-104, 50% loss, and this is worldwide.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's this accident record. This is kind of in line with the rest of the high performance airplanes.
Well, the
most of it was in testing, though. It was the test pilots who crashed,
right,
trying to work out the bugs, and there were a lot of them.
Well, plus and the other thing, you were talking earlier about how everything was very scripted and you had to stick to that script throughout, and I imagine that was because the airplane is considered a national asset.
Oh yes,
and this is super secret.
And
did any enemies ever get their hands on any parts of these things, or
no?
Okay.
Any operational missions that stand out? Like did you fly over an area and somebody made the foolhardy attempt to shoot you down with something that you were going to outrun anyway?
Well, I do have a story that I wrote about my most memorable flight. I could read it or just summarize.
Just tell us about it. Yeah.
Okay. This story begins on November 13th, 1980. It stands out because that's my birthday. So I got to fly an operational mission over North Korea on my birthday. It was just after President Reagan was elected. And North Korea was sent a message to us, which was they sent messages to us every once in a while, but over this story it was more than normal. They sent a message telling us that as a result of my flight that I can read you the message.
Okay.
My glasses here. Oh, okay. This is on the 13th of November. It comes out and it says,
You'll make us angry.
I love the communist creed. I think it's they're all the same, you know. Aggression forces, which are now hastening preparations for war, that's us, frantically kicking up war dust. It's funny. Against the northern half of the.
Uh-oh. That's
we
not
lose
good.
him? No. All right. So
that is not good. The Koreans heard him reading it and they
right.
shut him down.
That's right.
The North Koreans shut him down.
Right.
They've been waiting for him, and they found him, and they shut him down.
Exactly. I don't know what happened to him. I don't have a way to pause this. I can cut it out. So I'll do that at the end. So if everyone will bear with us.
Join us live. Hang on.
That's right.
We're going to get BC back. Hopefully. Hopefully they didn't, I'm going
to call him now.
Nuke him. I'm going to take this opportunity for a physiological break.
Do that, and I'm going to run another ad. So, yes, sir. Can you hear? Can you hear me? Okay. We have lost you completely. Now I've got you back, and Fig is coming back. So yes, sir. If you could give me just a second here, I'm going to put a hack in as to when we restart. And Fig, you're going to have to unmute yourself. I cannot unmute you. So, all right. If
Am
you
I
could
muted?
start again with your message from the North Koreans.
Yeah, the crafty North Koreans found you, BC, and they
And shut you off.
you offline.
Okay, where can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You were just telling us it was your birthday and you got to fly over North Korea, and they sent you a message, or they sent messages. We're sending messages. I don't know.
This message is kind of long, and I won't read all of it. Just to get you the flavor. Is that okay?
Certainly.
All right. Ready now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, North Korea would occasionally send us messages, and I don't know if it was just to us, but we would get them, and it was the typical communist screed that the same words that they use all the time. It's really funny. Anyway, they say came from November the 14th, the day after my flight. Said imperialist aggressive forces, which are now hastening preparations for a war, frantically kicking up war dust against the northern half of the republic. They say northern half because they claim both North and South Korea as theirs, of course.
Right.
So we're committing espionage against the northern half, committing a military provocation by infiltrating an SR-71 high-speed, high-altitude reconnaissance plane at around, and gives the time and the place and everything, while raising a hue and cry over fictitious threats from the northern these days. The U.S. imperialists perpetuate military provocations more frequently against our people, zealously encouraging the fascist gangsters, the South Koreans, to an anti-communist smear campaign. After September alone, the United States has infiltrated spy planes on 36 occasions into the air above the territorial waters and coastal land of our country. It is a challenge to peace in Korea and peaceful reunification, and a dangerous act of jeopardizing peace in the Asia and the rest of the world that the U.S. imperialists continue perpetuating espionage act against our people. Blah, blah, blah. Keeps on going. Well, that was really funny. So we got a good laugh out of that.
Well,
right.
Consider yourself chewed out by the North Koreans, I guess.
Yeah, well, we got that a lot.
Well, the question I have is, were they accurate? How were their numbers? Was it 36 times?
They were accurate. Yeah, unfortunately, they say that the SR-71 was kind of stealthy. Well, it wasn't stealthy enough not to get noticed on radar. Also, they probably heard us. It's a sonic boom. I mean, I know they heard us.
Yeah.
So
by the time they heard you, you were gone. North
Koreans were not happy about our persistent and repeated reconnaissance against them.
Wow. Sure. I feel like there's some sonic
we
booms
heard very
going on
little
over there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sounds like there's some sonic booms going on in
your
office right
your
now.
mic is picking up the papers thumping. So,
okay, I won't.
Yeah, no worries.
Very little.
So anyway,
was heard, very little was heard from the North Koreans until August 25th, 1981. My good friend Maury Rosenberg, who's a pilot, and Ed McKim, as the RSO, was flying a two-loop mission, and that's we call our missions by loops. Okay. By the number of refueling. So we had a two refueling mission that first flew against communist China and then North Korea. The pass across North Korea was along the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, between North and South Korea, although North Korea claimed sovereignty over the South as well. On the second pass, the North Koreans launched a surface-to-air missile, a SAM-2, in an attempt to shoot down the SR-71. They missed by several miles. I can tell you what the procedure was for us. At the time, it was top secret, but we would never fly at max Mach. Max Mach is 3.3. We'd fly, my usual thing is to fly about 3.1. So I would always have a little bit of room to accelerate. If we got, we supposedly got instant communication if a missile was launched. We would have one that there was 3 lights. There was a monitor, and then I forgot what they were called, but the last light was a launch light. If you ever got a launch light, immediately the jamming system would work. The jamming system was such that in the flight manual, it said, you cannot operate it over the United States or friendly territory. So it must have been a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. I would
So
think.
we would jam, and then we would accelerate, we would turn and climb all at the same time. Now, the jamming was supposed to make the missile dumb, so it didn't have any guidance. And so if you accelerate and turn and climb, and we always had the ability to do that. We could go into 45 degrees of bank at any time. And knowing how missiles are able to turn, we could certainly outturn the missile easily. So I never had a qualm about the SA-2s especially.
That's pretty awesome.
Anyway, this is August 25th, 1981. Jay Reed, who was my RSO at the time, and I were at Mildenhall, England when this happened. And of course, we got a good briefing on detailed briefing about the incident. Our reaction was not to be very concerned about, as I told you, about our safety, but it was perhaps that we would fly more missions or fly at night or something like that. And so about a month later, on September 24th, 1981, Jay and I arrived in Okinawa to start our regular 6-week deployment.
Okay.
2 days later, the Assistant Secretary of Defense, Mr. Frank Carlucci, who later became the Secretary of Defense, came to our detachment, Detachment 1 of the 9th SRW, to inspect our SR-71 operations. Since Jay and I had only been on the island for 2 days, and we were restricted from flying for 3 days because of the jet lag, we were designated as his escort officers. So Mr. Carlucci came out, and we brought him to the airplane and put him in the cockpit and answered every question he had. And he asked us specifically about what we thought about being shot at. And I told him, I says, I'd had no qualms about that. None of us would. The mission was paramount. And that we were hoping, because in Okinawa, we were flying, sometimes we would fly training missions. And I mentioned that, you know, I don't see any reason to fly a training mission out of Okinawa when you got North Korea and China, very close neighbors.
Right there. Right. I know,
And,
right?
yeah. I'd like to fly more operational missions. And I don't know if it might have had something to do with it, because we didn't fly training missions after that, except for functional check flights. So
Okay.
also, Mr. Carlucci said that President Reagan was furious, that's the word he used, about the North Koreans shooting at us. And so, we gave an overview, and he also said that the North Koreans fired on one of our aircraft, that something would be done about it. And so there's and that and the other thing was that we drew down our reconnaissance missions about 30 miles, so we didn't overfly anything that North Korea could reasonably say it was theirs. So we drew down for, and then 10 days later, October the 3rd, 1981, the U.S. Air Force Vice Chief of Staff, General Robert Mathis, came to Okinawa and briefed the SR-71 crews on the plan to resume operational flights. He said soon that we would fly a mission exactly the way that was flown by Maury Rosenberg and Ed McKinn. He also said that the timing would be critical, that they wanted the airplane over the site of the launch within a minute. And then he said, no, 30 seconds. We want that airplane over there within 30 seconds. And of course, we asked why. And he said that they were going to have two flights of, he didn't say what kind of airplane, but I assume it'd be F-15s, 2 flights of air-to-ground capable airplanes. And if they shot at us, they would eliminate that launch site immediately. So the idea, SR flies over, they shoot the missile, the SR evades, and in the meantime, their launch site is killed. So that was interesting. So Jay Reed and I flew that mission on October 26, 1981. And it wasn't that we were picked to fly the mission. It was our natural rotation. We had a crew ladder for our operational missions because we considered flying an operational mission almost sacred. It was something that we wanted to keep, you do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, that type of thing.
Sure.
And we all considered ourselves equally prepared to fly any mission, which I think we were. So on this flight, we took off early, because it's easier to lose time than it is to gain time. And we took off early to make sure that we went over the point at the prescribed time. And everything was successful. We did do some timing triangles just to lose some time. And we went over that point within 10 seconds of the time that they said. And we were very, very proud of ourselves for that. I mean, it was something else.
So
now,
can you give me a rough idea? In what way did you think about it? Because Big and I always thought in the Harrier, we always thought in 6, 7, 8 miles per minute, 9 or 10 miles per minute, maybe even. But I'm imagining that what did you use to calculate how to get over a given point at a given point in time? Was it still miles per minute?
I didn't have to do it. the backseater, the navigator did.
Oh,
and I mean, it's just time and distance. It's just the speed is a little bit different.
When you're doing Mach 3, it's just more miles,
more miles per minute.
Yeah,
I guess like the rotor heads, we give them grief because they're doing 2 miles a minute.
But I did everything that Jay told me to. You said turn left so many degrees. All right, go back to course, that type of thing. And anyway, it worked out. And Jay was a radar nav in the B-52s before he came in the SR, and he had a good background for that kind of stuff. And anyway, he did it, so I can't take any responsibility for it.
Nice. Okay.
But I have to admit, I'm not a warmonger, but I have to admit that I was slightly disappointed that they didn't shoot at us, which was a funny thing to say. But it would have emphasized the United States' resolve not to let things like that happen.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
Now the North Koreans had another message that they sent to us the day after that. I'll just read you through. It's a shorter message. So this is 26 October 81. The U.S. imperialist aggressors infiltrated an SR-71 high-speed, high-altitude reconnaissance plane deep into our sky above the territorial waters of our country. On the East Coast from 11 hours, 19 minutes to 21 minutes, that's so forth. It's about 3 minutes or so we were there. To commit espionage acts and secession against the northern half of the country. Lately, U.S. imperialist aggressors are ever more viciously committing espionage acts against our country, frequently changing the time of the infiltration. Well, that's correct. Of the spy plane and the course of its flight. Espionage acts committed by the spy planes of the U.S. imperialist aggressors in the airspace of our country, number 11 after October the 2nd alone. This shows that the U.S. imperialists' new war preparations have entered a very grave stage. They must be clearly mindful that there is a limit to the patience of our people and stop at once their espionage and hostile acts against the northern half of our country. We didn't stop. That was fun. So I guess that's the most memorable mission, because if they had fired at us, we would have had another war with North Korea.
Well, it's saying something, number one, that you had such confidence in your aircraft that you didn't mind getting shot at.
No,
because you could outrun them, and
as he put it, Fig, he was slightly disappointed.
Slightly disappointed.
He was slightly disappointed.
I don't want to tempt fate too much, but just slightly.
Well, nobody should. However, what a great feeling that must have been.
It was.
One of our listeners right now asked if the SR-71 was a SAC asset, Strategic Air Command, and I don't think it belonged to.
No, it was a SAC.
It was a SAC asset.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to think National Reconnaissance.
Well, if there were such a thing, that it should have been under that.
Okay.
There was a lot of politics about the SR-71, because the SR-71 is a very expensive organization.
I imagine it cost a few bucks to operate that thing.
Yeah.
What kind of fuel flow did you have when you were up
you
in,
beat me to it.
Yeah,
Beat me to it.
Do you remember
we
that?
Through 80,000 pounds of fuel in an hour or an hour and a half.
Wow.
So, I mean, and then of course the acceleration is the biggest burning when you're at low altitude and full afterburner.
By contrast, a fully loaded 777 burns 12 to 15,000 pounds in an hour. So almost 6 times the amount of fuel.
and going 2.3 times slower.
Yeah, at least. At least. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. How many thousands of pounds was I'm asking. I'm not. I swear I'm not trying to play stump the dummy. How many thousand pounds of fuel would your tanks hold?
80,000.
80,000. So that's
the gross weight of the airplane is 60,000, and we carried 80,000 of fuel. Incidentally, I as a comparison, the maximum gross weight allowed for an 18-wheel truck trailer is 80,000 pounds.
Right.
And so when we were fully loaded at the end of our air refueling, we had a fully loaded 18-wheel truck to carry around. And that's why the airplane was so delicate. It only had a G rating in supersonic flight, or that heavy, of 1.5 Gs.
Sure.
That's another reason why a dyed-in-the-wool fighter pilot wouldn't be too happy flying the airplane.
Be very ginger with it. Yeah, right. Oh, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And the acceleration, that makes sense. That's when you're burning most of it. But the whole thing became it was essentially the afterburner to maintain that.
Yeah, we flew an afterburner from the end of air refueling to bringing the throttles back to join the tanker again. We would descend at 200 miles from the tanker. That's how long it would take us to come down.
That's right. Yeah, the tanker isn't going up to be with you. So
nope.
No. Oh, man. And then, what can you tell us about the altitude? You did say 3.3 Mach earlier. You said it's all been declassified?
Yes.
Okay.
It's about 15 years ago, I think.
Okay.
I wasn't sure that was true, so I wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Air Force and actually got an answer saying yes, it's been declassified. I got a call from Paul Crickmore, who's a wonderful guy. He's probably the best historian on the SR-71, and he was asking me some questions about the airplane that was I consider classified, and I said, well, I can't tell you until I find out. So that's why I contacted the Secretary of the Air Force and got an answer in writing that yes, it's all declassified. Now, I did not. The only thing that's still classified is the jamming system and the radar and the cameras, but I didn't know any of that anyway.
Right.
I could see the products.
Can't spill what you don't know. So
that's right, and I didn't want to know it.
Yeah. So what was
Backseater knew a lot more about that than I did.
Yeah. You were up in the 90,000 foot range. Is that 80 to 90?
No, my highest flight I ever was 86,000.
86,000.
Yeah.
So you would spoil the flat earthers' day if you told them that at 86,000 feet, the Earth is way curved when you look out at the horizon.
Yeah.
Well, it is curved. Now, I have here. That's the flight envelope of the SR-71. That was pretty highly classified too until recently. I'll send that to you too. It's
okay.
It tells you exactly how high you can go. If you have a given Mach, then like if you're going to go at Mach 3, I can tell you right here. Your altitude choices at Mach 3 would be about 65,000 up to 80,000.
Okay.
And you can't go any other altitude because if you go higher, you're going to stall. And if you go lower, you're going to break the dynamic pressure limit.
Okay.
Now, we had a checklist when we were on anytime we flew. All of our training flights emulated operational flights. We did the same thing. Either work the cameras and so forth. But as we always would on a fly with max range speed, max for a given speed, max range altitude.
Okay.
And so we had it would integrate gross weight, outside air temperature, and load factor, whether you're in a turn or not. And we'd check that thing all the time to make sure we were at the right altitude because fuel was very precious.
Sure.
I bet because of your speed, when you turned, it took miles of turn radius.
The turn radius, is that the diameter or the radius, is 180 miles. I think that may be the diameter.
Wow.
Okay.
So 90 miles to go 90 degrees.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh.
The other thing is that you go into a 30-degree bank turn and the compass hardly moves at all. It's just,
That's something. Well, what's it like to land it? Did it have good landing characteristics?
Well, I think so. It you're about 12 degrees in the air, when you're landing.
Okay.
So your main wheels are way back there,
right?
And they hit the ground first, of course. And it takes a couple of landings, at least it did for me, to know exactly where the main landing gear was relative to the runway.
Okay.
But once you know that, then the landing technique, say on a no-wind condition, it's the only jet aircraft that at about a quarter of a mile, if you're on a 3-degree glide path, about a quarter of a mile from the runway, you go to idle. And you do it at 104, you're gonna die.
You're gonna land short. Yeah.
But in the SR-71, since it has such a large, the whole body of the airplane is a wing, so you have a great ground effect. So you come down to about 100 feet, maybe 80 feet, you start getting into that ground effect. And if you had any power on, you'd glide right down the runway. all the way down. So you go
Wow.
to no wind, you go to idle at a quarter mile, and then land, on the first 100 feet or so at the runway.
What were your approach speeds?
Touchdown.
Well, yeah. What
that-
were your approach speeds when you're like a mile out? Or
175 on final, and then plus knots for fuel. But 175, and then touchdown about 160 knots, which is pretty close to 190 miles an hour. And always when I talk to people, I always say 190 miles an hour because most people know what that is.
Aren't thinking in knots. Sure. What about crosswind limitations?
About 30 knots, 25 to 30 knots.
So it could handle that pretty well then. All
It
right.
could. If you ever see the rudders are pretty big.
Yeah.
You can get the thing that is limiting is the aileron. Now I say aileron, it's all all the same things. But I landed one time at Kadena with I think it was a 25 or 30 knot crosswind, and I had the stick all the way to the right, wishing I had more. And so I had to accept the crab and then do the old in the flare, straighten the nose out.
Yeah,
sure.
That's kind of what we did in the Harrier, believe it or not.
Yeah. In the Harrier, I thought you just landed vertically.
If you couldn't do a vertical landing, you were, you had to use the crosswinds that you were given. We couldn't do wing down top rudder because of that little outrigger that was out there.
Snap that outrigger right off.
Fly it in a crab until just the last second, and then kick it out.
Yeah.
So oh
wow, good
fantastic
stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff,
that's
BC.
amazing. Yeah.
Now you want to say more about the landing. As soon as you feel the main wheels touch, if you don't have more than 15 knots of crosswind, you can put the drag chute out immediately. And it's a good idea to do that because you're weighing about 80,000 pounds, maybe a little bit less when you touch down. And the only thing you have to stop you is that drag chute and your brakes.
Two little
the
wheels.
Brakes are on, the brakes are on tires that are not very wide,
right?
Because there's no room to put big balloon tires up in the fuselage. So you really have to have the brakes. Well, the brakes always are, I don't say overheated, but they are hot enough that they put gasoline-powered fans on the brakes every time you land.
I bet.
Okay. All right. How? What was the most difficult thing either to learn or to teach others about coming to this airplane? Was it just being gentle with it so that you didn't break it, or?
Well, air refueling for me was the hardest thing.
Okay.
It took me about a year to get comfortable refueling. I was never comfortable, but I mean, to get to where I felt like I could do it flawlessly.
So I'm
reliably.
guessing
Sure.
that was pretty much like slow flight characteristics of an airplane, getting that slow in that plane to refuel.
Well, yeah, it's a decent airplane when you hook up because you've got about 15,000 pounds of fuel, maybe. And but then during the fill up, the airspeed is about 310 knots calibrated when you first approach the tanker. By the time you get to the end of the runway, we're about 360. As the tanker gets lighter and the SR gets heavier. The reason for that is that 310 is the minimum speed that they want you to be at. So you're
right there.
You hook up, and then as the fuel comes in, there comes a point about maybe 60,000 pounds of fuel where you're behind the power curve. And what the behind the power curve means that it takes more power to either slow down or to go faster. So you're in that area. About 65 to 70,000 pounds, you're always bringing the power in to stay in because your gross weight's getting heavier. You hit the mill stop, the military stop, which is full power without afterburner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, this was always my technique, was to light the left afterburner. The left because that's the window that you're going to be looking out of, and it's anti-iced. That's the only window forward that has anti-ice on it.
Okay.
So we always did the left window or the left burner. First, boom operator, I'm going to light the left afterburner because you don't want to surprise the boom operator.
Yeah. You're on fire.
And then you go 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, and then pull back that much on the other throttle, and it's right, stays there, right there. You don't move.
How about that?
Then you use the other throttle the rest of the time.
Interesting.
So then when you hook off, you are we're going 360, and that's a comfortable speed for that kind of weight, but you don't want to horse it around. Still at 1.5 Gs.
Sure.
And
the guys up in the tanker are right up again. They're going as fast as they can pedal, I guess.
Yeah, and usually they as soon as we disconnect, they go left and we go right. Usually that's
okay.
They don't want any part of us then, except maybe to see the acceleration. But then we go into minimum afterburner and hold a level until we get to 450 knots or so, and then slowly go up to about 32,000 or so, push it over, and then you go through the Mach in a descent. Let gravity help you through that high drag region.
Oh, no kidding.
And then you go bounce back down to about 30,000 and then level off until you get 400 knots, and then you level off till you get 450 and use 450 in the climb. And then Mach 1.6, you have to do a Keys bleed or a knots equivalent airspeed bleed to stay within that curve.
Sure.
This curve right here.
Okay. We'll put that chart up on the website.
That's badass.
Yeah,
on some flights, we would have a 65,000 fuel load, which is we usually took off with a 45,000 fuel load.
Okay.
And that was just so we could have a single engine minimum control speed at all elements. With a 65,000 load, you would have to accelerate a little bit. Like my technique was when I took off, I would hug the ground, raise the gear, and then get speed as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Because you don't want to lose an engine at that kind of weight.
And lose directional control.
Yes.
Yeah.
And crash.
Yeah.
So there are some flights that we went directly from brake release to Mach 3, and those were called rocket rides. And we would do that operationally in Okinawa to sneak up on the North Koreans. Everything would be radio silent. Taxiing would be we'd have a pilot in the tower, and they give a light signal to take off and everything. So it was all radio silent, and it usually at night. Awesome. And it took 13 minutes to go from brake release to Mach 3.
Wow.
Which and there's nice steady acceleration. The first attitude is about 20 degrees nose high, and then of course you'd have to decrease the attitude.
Sure.
But it felt good. I sometimes in my dreams I still dream about the acceleration. I loved it. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Nice.
People
How many
have asked
G's
me
do you think aft did you feel?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't 1 G. I mean, it wasn't. The acceleration wasn't 1 G. It was probably less than that.
Okay.
But it just was continuous. It didn't stop. I likened it to sitting in a swivel chair and having a couple of burly guys push you across a runway or something. It's just
Go.
And then they kept going. I also found the initial acceleration from 0 to brake to gear up at 300 knots, and we'd be at the end of the runway at 400 knots at least, maybe 450. But that kind of acceleration, I've always tried to explain it to some people, but a friend of mine had a Tesla, and they put me in the Tesla, and he showed me the acceleration from 0 to 60, and it all came back to me. That's what it
Right.
feels like. It's that's the acceleration that you feel in the SR-71.
Nice.
Now, of course, in the F-15 and all that stuff, that's probably the same, but it just doesn't last as long as ours.
Right? Yeah, yours lasted a few minutes to get there.
Yeah,
Holy
14 minutes.
smokes. That's impressive. So, all right. Wow. Well, thank you so much for everything.
I got to hear the end of the "So There I Was" story. How did that work?
Yes.
Because last thing I heard, he was heading for a barrier.
For the side of the hangar. Good
Do
catch.
you want that now?
Yes, sir.
Please,
Okay.
please.
This was my first, I think, or either first or second tour in Okinawa. I was a young SR-71 pilot in experience, and I told you I had trouble, refueling. I always got my fuel, but I never was really comfortable with it. And then I was scheduled to make one of these rocket rides I was telling you about. And so I thought to myself that the day before when we did the mission planning, I says, oh boy, this is going to be great. I don't have to refuel. And all I do is get in the airplane. I start it, I accelerate, I go up to Mach 3, I take pictures of North Korea, come back down, piece of cake. And then it's maybe a 45-minute flight. So as I took off in this flight, everything went fine until I was in the supersonic acceleration. So I was around Mach 2 or so, and I get a horrendous unstart. Unstart is when the shock wave that's inside the inlet decides to throw itself out of the inlet, and
like a compressor stall.
Reduce at least.
Would it sound like a compressor stall, like a big bang?
Oh no, it's more than that. It is a compressor stall. It sounds like one, but it's very loud and it's violent. It'll yaw the engine because you lose instantaneously about 35% of your thrust on that engine. Plus the fact that you have to get that inlet restarted, or you're not going to make your mission. Your fuel flow goes up, and it's not a good deal at all. And anyway, so this happens. So you let the procedure is to let it go through the automatic restart, which is to open the forward bypass doors and put the spike full forward, then bring the spike back and close the doors. So I let it do that, and it unstarted again. So then you go into a manual inlet, and there's a procedure for that, and it unstarted again. So at that point, I'm a young guy and inexperienced in the airplane to some degree, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I decided to abort the mission because I don't want to be. I didn't have that much fuel anyway to mess around with it. So I came back, told them I was coming back. Everything was fine until I touched down. When I touched down, for some reason, I got into a terrible back and forth rocking motion. Back and forth. It was back and forth. I mean, it was in roll. So I touched down, and immediately I started rolling, and it knocked off a generator. And so I was rolling down the run. Oh, and I came back so quickly, they didn't have time to take the barrier off. So the barrier was still, the rope barrier, the cable barrier was still on the runway.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had this rocking thing, the arresting gear. And then when I hit the arresting gear, it blew out some tires because of this very hard tire, 425 PSI. It doesn't give. And then anyway, it blew out the tires. And so I radioed to the mobile control. I says, do you want to tow this airplane in? Because I didn't really want to taxi it with all the mess I had.
Yeah.
No, we want you to taxi it in. So, okay. So I taxi in. And when the procedure was always to taxi into the runway, to the hangar, because they have the people that take off. It's kind of like the Indianapolis 500 pit
Yeah,
stop.
you got a pit crew waiting for you.
These pit crew, they all come out and they would have high speed wrenches and everything. They take the stuff out. So I'm going to taxi into the hangar. Well, the airplane leaks fuel. They didn't have time to clean the fuel off. And so I'm coming into a hangar that's wet with slippery fuel. So I go to stop, and I'm going very slow. I go to stop, put the brakes on. Nothing happens. I've got the engines running, and it just starts sliding up there. Normally, they would park the pressure suit van in front of that hangar.
Okay.
Luckily, thank God they did not this time. So I'm looking at the barrier at the blast fence, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Well, I can shut down the engines, but I would still be moving, and I wouldn't have nose wheel steering or braking because they operate on the main hydraulics. And so I said, well, I'm going to leave and this is all in 2 seconds. I'm doing this calculation. I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to try to turn the airplane so that when the main wheels, get out of the fuel, then it'll stop. And as I went up there, I said, if I don't turn now, I'm going to hit that barrier. So I go full nose wheel steering. The nose swings around, and about 4 potato later, I stop because the main wheel just came out. I got out and looked, and I was about this far from the right wing hitting the wall of the hangar.
Oh my!
And about another distance between that and the blast fence. So it was perfectly timed, and it just I was concerned at the time, but after I saw it, golly, that was so quick.
I can't imagine.
You're
terrified in your throat because you got no control. You're just
Terrified.
Well, I didn't have any control over the stopping. So that was probably the most danger I've ever had in the airplane. I've had unstarts and all that. I never lost an engine. A lot of people have. A lot of people have had fires and everything. I mean, it was kind of a
thank you for
dangerous
that.
airplane.
Thank you for that.
right. Indeed. Thank you, indeed. And thank you for all of your service. It was, what a remarkable career.
Yeah. How many years total, BC?
Well, counting the reserve, 22.
Well, thank you for your service.
It was 21 actually in the. It was 11 years in the SR-71 program.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And I was, when I came in, I wanted to fly, and I didn't want a staff job or anything. And I was offered to be the operations officer with, the usual pipeline to be the commander. And if I asked if I do that, can I fly the airplane? No, you can't. don't make
And
me
there's
do
your
it.
answer right there.
Let me think about that. No. Let me take a minute to no.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I also sabotaged my chance to make a colonel by not taking the Air War College by correspondence. I ordered it, and then I saw it, and I thought, I really don't want to do this because I might make colonel. If I make colonel, they're going to send me to the Pentagon.
That's right.
They're going to make me do something not involving airplanes. So, wow, not good.
Wow.
Well, indeed. Thank you for your service, your high speed service, as Dizzy says. So that is some fantastic stuff.
That's right.
Also, before we wrap up, we want to say thank you to all the men and women, both on active duty and our veterans, and to our first responders who make life a little better for all of us, who lay it out there for us.
Yeah, and just as importantly, their families, the ones holding down the home front while they're missing
That's
birthdays,
true.
holidays, everyday moments, and others. So, so you can do the job. We appreciate you.
Indeed, we do. Also, we have a huge thanks going out to Dave Hamilton for the knowledge and support and the steady hand that helps get this show out to you every single week.
Our bandwidth is handled by Cashfly, and advertising support comes from Backbeat Media. Both absolutely critical to keeping the lights on for us.
They are indeed getting these shows to you. And if you enjoy the show, would you head over to sotheriwas.us/rate? Please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help more people find the show.
Yeah, if you got an idea for a guest, a story, or a way to make the show better, repeat at sotheriwas.us or fig@sotheriwas.us, because we actually read them. Or
We do.
Bago at sotheriwas.us or Sticks at sotheriwas.us. So at sotheriwas.us. That's the brains of the operation.
Yeah. Get an answer from those guys. Yeah. Hey, don't forget our merch store also, sotheriwas.us/merch. We got a bunch of cool stuff, koozies, hats, hoodies. It's coming up soon. Spring's going to be springing soon.
It's bikini season down here where I'm at, by the way.
There you go. Get yourself a So There I Was bikini.
Hey, speaking of sharing bikinis, tell two friends about the show, because that's easy, right? Word of mouth is still king.
Right. And to our Patreon supporters and direct donors, thank you. You're sacrificing your hard-earned money to help support this show. Without you, we simply couldn't keep it going. And the fact that you are doing this, I would keep that secret from your financial advisor, because they're going to worry about your financial judgment as much as
Right.
Fig and I do.
We
Why are
are
you giving us
concerned,
money?
but we
appreciate
are
it.
humbled at the same time, and thank you.
Yeah. Thank you seems inadequate. And also it's sotheriwas.us/rate. I'm sorry, sotheriwas.us/donate. There's now a Venmo link where if you're not going to give on a regular basis, but you would like to give something, Venmo will give us a larger cut of what you donate. So I would mention that to you. Thank you.
Massive thanks to Sticks and Bago, who weren't here today, but they usually are in the background making the wizardry of production look so easy. And they're constantly behind the scenes in support of this show. So thanks, gents. Also, who else we got to say thanks to?
Yeah, well, we absolutely have to send our tip our hat to Badass at bdsaviationphotography.com. He lets us use his miraculously good I'm looking for something while I'm trying to say thank you. The photos are like artwork. bdsaviationphotography.com. The guy is absolutely amazing. So and the sound you're not hearing, Fig, go ahead and say the sound you're hearing so I can cut that out.
Well, the sound you're hearing is the sound of the two F-16 pilots that make the Air Force sound great. The Dos Gringos.
Yep.
They have been on our show twice. They're fine gentlemen, patriots, and aviators, and their music will brighten your day. If you're having a bad day, listen to a Dos Gringos song.
Even though, as their leadership said, they lack judgment, they are good. They are good musicians, good pilots, good gentlemen, and great Americans. So you can find their Dos Gringos on Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you listen to music. So until next time, stay safe and
Check 6. Check 6.
And I have lost complete control of the audio right now. My website is frozen up, so I can't play the outro music right now. I'm going to go ahead and end it all right here.
On that day.
I'm going to go ahead and end the show right here,
Now
folks.
it is
Thank you very much for
cramped
joining us
up,
today.
but it's
Take care,
even
stay
worse.
safe, and
All that stuff supposed to save your life.